The views expressed on this show are expressly the views of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views, beliefs, or opinions of News for Us World, its hosts, broadcasters, or affiliates. Remember, folks, always use your own discernment when viewing. We encourage our viewers to think for themselves.
In 1980, Ronald Reagan wore a white suit, a red tie, and a white shirt and addressed the nation. Hi, I am Dennis Andrew Ball, and I am running for President of the United States. I am talking to you right now because the debates that were conducted this week need to have a presidential response. The economic issues that both Barack Obama and Mitt Romney answered created in the minds of many of us unanswered questions of how do you sustain economic growth in the United States of America. In light of the decisions and the events that have happened since 2008, what do we need to do to reduce the deficit, increase job creation, maintain Social Security and Medicare, and provide the opportunity for our children and future generations not only to survive, but to thrive in a global economy. I would like to talk to you quickly on how I perceive what needs to happen. The United States of America at this time is suffering because the means of production have not equaled the ends of production that it requires in order to sustain its middle class. The United States of America must reindustrialize itself to make it possible that 23 million Americans can go back to work in industries that are productive for themselves and their families. What we are witnessing on a daily basis is the demise of the American family, the traditional American family, of children, parents, and grandparents, by people in authority who have used, abused, and misused their positions to hurt our people. This must stop, and it will under my administration. The need at this moment of time is to get our organs of power in business to invest in research and development to make it possible for industry to not only survive in America, but also to thrive. My attitude is that the production capability of the United States is equal to none. Our workers are very productive if given the opportunity, but they must be protected by government that concerns themselves with their best interests. And that has been a problem for many years in this country. My attitude also is that in order for our people to get themselves in a position to care for themselves and their children, we have to evaluate at this moment in time what is important for that to happen. And I believe that it will be more of a decision on the part of the American people when they go to the voting booth to decide who they think is best qualified to do that job. I believe also that we are in a position to make decisions that will impact the course of history and to bring about positive change in the lives of our family structure. I want to say that in order to do that, the means of production will have to be a top priority to reindustrialize the middle class and to provide the support for the future generations. I want to say this, that in terms of how we go about this business, the President of the United States should be very aware of what has happened and what needs to happen. My interest at this time is to educate through my administration of candidacy for presidency to make it possible for you to learn more about me and to decide if you are better off since the election of Barack Obama and the changes that need to happen in terms of the increase in gas prices, in food prices, the mortgage forfeitures that have happened since him, and also what we will do in the future to make it possible for more people to be employed out of 23 million who are not. Consider this opportunity to communicate to your friends and your neighbors my thoughts, and I look forward to hearing from you. I need presidential electors who will vote for me through the Electoral College when I win the states in this country to become your next president. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Now, as it relates to today's show, I had 3 guests lined up. I'm not sure any one of them is going to show up. So that's a problem, possibly. I'm not sure. But if we don't have the guests, the different parties that were scheduled, Cherie Saunders, Tabitha Fenn, and possibly Faith Daron again, because Faith and I talked today about their situation in terms of the healthcare issues, because her husband has serious health issues going on that require money in order to satisfy, even with health insurance through Medicare, which I think has caused a lot of problems for many people who are struggling and suffering under the healthcare system as we've known it today. Myself, I am convinced that healthcare has been driven by money and opportunity through the insurance industry, the accountants who work for them, and the lack of support coming from the medical doctors because their hands are tied what they can and cannot do when they're confronted with a medical problem. That changes with my book called Ball Care, Healthcare That People Can Support. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. And that's important because the healthcare business would change radically. The government would be the payer. The doctors are in control. If you need a procedure at 80 and 90 years old, you're going to get it. It's not going to be a question of money, and it will be an opportunity for people's lives to be extended if that's what they wish, and to spend time with their grandchildren and proceed according to what they perceive life should be like. We used to have a system of government that honored life rather than death. And you can see what this is, how this has been going on for some time. And for that, we have a real problem in the society we're living in now. My hope is that as people age, more people will become aware that there are solutions to these problems outside of total giveaways of our government to forces that wish to use, abuse, and misuse us as pawns in the pond, and proceed on that basis of making our lives better rather than worse. And for that, I'm very aware of all of this, and will continue down that path. I highly recommend people get a hold of Ball Care, healthcare that people can support. It is on Amazon.com. And as we proceed here this afternoon, I'm inside because it's so hot outside. I needed to do this show inside, and this seems to be the right place to do it this afternoon. And hopefully we'll all benefit from it. So as to the guests that we were hoping to get on the show, has anybody come on?
Not as of yet, but we're only 18 minutes into the show, so I sent the links to both.
Okay, very good. All right. So regardless of whoever shows up or doesn't show up, we will proceed here. It might be not as long a show, but I am in the Campaign for America modem here, and spending time here until September 3rd, Labor Day weekend, when I intend to travel to St. Petersburg, Florida, to meet people who want to speak to me and find out more. In the meantime, I'm very busy with these rallies here in Orlando and elsewhere, and we'll be making a reservation to New York for the United Nations, and proceed accordingly. Let me say this. I had a very long discussion today with my associate and friend, Brian Goudier. He is in Missouri. Brian has gone through a lot of trauma with his daughter, something similar to what Dottie has experienced in St. Louis. It seems like Missouri as a state wants to ambush and kidnap people out of their families, even though they talk a big talk about family life. I don't see a lot of support for it. And this is coming from the government. The folks there in Jefferson City, to me, need to prove a whole lot better what they are doing. As I see this Governor Parsons has done very little to promote family unity and to defund any kind of federal programs that steal kids from parents. For that, I'm very concerned about how this is perceived in the society, and our future as it relates to the government and the people. As you know, Stephen, my attitude is that we are in trouble because there are forces working against all of us, including the business people. If the business people do not fund candidates that will fight for them, I'm afraid their businesses will go away and their money will too. This is a problem that other countries have encountered, such as Cuba, Venezuela, the Soviet Union, of course, and many other socialist communist nations, North Korea, China, using a Marxist attitude toward society that wishes to destroy the family unit and be controlled within their image. God created the family, not communism. So for that, I am blessed to be able to differentiate and point out the differences. As I've said before, I am not a politician. If anything, I would consider I'm an author and a scholar, and I do my research and I do my work, and I do communicate with a lot of different people and institutions in order to get the facts. Also with the courts as well, because I am a court official, and I am busy dealing with all of that which occurred in my own life prior to my father's death and after his death, to see that justice is served on those who have used, abused, and misused my own family, myself, my mother, and others to our detriment. And as a consequence, my book, Tyranny from the Bench, Fighting and Surviving America's Judicial Nightmare, is very popular, and it is very well set and is being sold rapidly because of what the content of the books shows, that people can fight back through lien filings as well as IRS filings on those who fail to file final tax returns on people's estates, as well as declaring ill-gotten gains and income that they have hidden from the government, as well as seriously causing themselves pain by failure to file their own income taxes and having the correct information on them. So I'm sure you have some similarities and familiarities with others in your own sphere of influence who may or may not have conducted their financial affairs with the government, as well as proceeding to get themselves in a bottleneck because of the rules that are here. I did not create them, nor did you, but we are tasked to live by them. And every year I have to file my taxes as well. And why should they not have to? And so as a court official, I am holding them accountable. And that's what needs to happen here. Praise God.
Speaking of accountability, you're right. And when we need accountability, when we have a group of individuals that are supposed to be in positions of power and have no conflicts of interest, and they're committing criminal acts, and there's no accountability, yet they want to make damn sure that the regular, average, everyday citizen is held accountable for their actions. Well, that's a double standard, folks. That is not the law and order or justice. That is everything. It goes against everything this country was founded on, folks. We need accountability, especially for those in positions of power.
Absolutely. And if you would have been a fly on the wall today, you would have heard me speaking to Brian Goudier. He is a former law enforcement officer, and he has truly been through the mud with his former wife. I wouldn't even consider her a wife. She was a girlfriend that they had a child together, a love child. But the daughter is his prized possession and wants to see her best interests are served. He also has been put in a position where they have shared custody, yet he is put in a position, he has had child support issues that cause him stress because his ex produces attitudes and documents through her lawyer that wants to continue to milk him dry of his financial worth. The man works a graveyard shift and another job just to survive. And it's just an amazing thing that he's able to keep up with all of that and go to court and deal with all of the players. But he's a smart guy. I met him in Washington, D.C. for the Family Forward movement. And as a consequence, Brian and I have connected, and that was a good thing. Also, there's another group called Moms for Liberty in Melbourne, Florida, not far from where I'm here in Orlando, that is busy with the school boards. And the school boards, as we both know, has produced very poor results from LGBTQ, the trans people, and all of that, which has caused a lot of parents, particularly moms, a lot of alarm and stress because, and anxiety for that matter, because of what is being taught to their own children that they don't approve of. And so many moms are pulling their kids out of school. And these are public schools that have gone rogue and forgotten what it means to be an American and to educate rather than indoctrinate our children. And as President of the United States, I want you to know, people, that you're looking at someone who's going to make a huge correction in the system that needs to be done, regardless of the consequences. To me personally, because the problems have been lingering here for over 70 years. And as a consequence, this is where we are as a culture and a society. What say you, Stephen?
I agree. I mean, this is kind of systemic of how we got here. I mean, it's the apathy that has to end, folks. It's the oh, I'll go along to get along. That has to end, because look at where it's gotten us. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And we're living in those times and seeing the end results of that, folks.
It is. And, it has to stop. And I can tell you right now, my energy is very focused on what needs to get done and get done now. And whether people wish to follow me or not, that's their choice. I know what I have to do and I'm doing it. But like I've told the billionaires and the millionaires, that if you want to maintain your property, your liquidity, and your funding, you better be busy funding candidates who will fight for you, because you may find yourself on the out when they move in to take what you have earned and built. Barack Obama said at one time to a conference of business people that they did not build their business. Now that sounds very strange, doesn't it? They did not build their business. Like he was talking about the government had actually caused the business to appear. Come on. That's just outrageous conduct on the part of Obama and any public official who would communicate like that. Business is it's hard work. And there's payrolls to meet and there's product to serve. What happened in California this week at Nordstrom's in California, I guarantee you the shareholders and the managers of Nordstrom's is considering probably pulling out of where they are, because they are not going to put up with these kinds of losses, even though they might be insured. The insurance companies will not put up with this, and they'll cancel them out. In other words, they will cancel their policies for future protection, because they will not allow themselves to be abused like that financially through people who come in and take their goods. This is a common problem now. It's systemic. So the people have got to get engaged in the process of changing this society back to the we, us, and our, from the me, my, and mine narcissism that has continued on as a way of life ever since I was born. And I'll be 72 years old this month. My birthday is on August 27th. So as a result, we have real skin in the game here that needs to be addressed and acted upon. The AOA right now is in 10 states. The majority of the states have campaign managers. We are looking for more, and we will not stop until we achieve that. Now, I see you have a live call in line, 702 482-8620. If there's anybody out there who would like to ask me some questions on the campaign, please feel free to call. I would like to hear your voice and give you an honest response to whatever it is that you want to talk about. The last time I talked to somebody on the radio, I asked the question, despite Trump and DeSantis duking it out for the Republican nomination, is it possible that a third party candidate could rise to become the president of the United States? And the response I received was, yes, they can. And it's like, because of all the bad behavior, the negative responses that people have gotten when they ask legitimate questions, and their income and the cost of living has just shot up so great that the COLA factor now enters into the campaign. Can you sustain yourself on what you're currently able to generate income? Or is it beyond your reach at the moment to think in terms of what you would require in order that you would feel more comfortable in your daily lives? I mean, for me, I have no family, no woman. I am myself. Fortunately for me, I'm smart enough and have worked hard enough to know how to use money as a positive experience, including credit. That's why I have been able to survive and thrive all this time since I created this party in 1995. As the chairman of the American Party of America, the American National Committee, we are the Americans. We are family first. We are the white states, and white is in that flag. The flag represents integrity, veracity, honesty, freedom, family, and faith. And remember that, people, because we all are in this together. And if we want to have a good society, we must be in it together. Extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice, said Barry Goldwater, 1964. What that means is we are busy as a society defending our freedom and our faith for our children and generations to come. And if we fail to do that, our children will suffer tremendously at the hands of scrupulous, unscrupulous people whose interest is not to use good behavior, but to use evil as a means to their ends, which is power and control. Adolf Hitler did this from 1920 to 1940, prior to World War II, and the bankers funded him. The Rothschilds, the Bilderbergs, I also believe the Gettys and the Rockefellers. They made money off of war. And if we are not careful, that could happen again. So as it relates to the future, my hope is that we will have a better experience through the AOA, producing candidates that will use the means and the tools to win elections and to change the society from within. And for that, I'm blessed. What say you, Stephen?
I agree. I think we need to be changing our communities from within. I'm going to quote a really good quote I think is really, really relevant. Create your own community. Be the change you want to see in the world, folks.
Okay. Looks like we have maybe a caller. Her name is Ann Wozniak. She is from Michigan. She is our Michigan campaign manager. She appears to be attempting to get in touch with Tabitha Fenn, who is supposed to be a guest on today's show. And it appears there may be somebody else that she is communicating with. She says Tabitha Fenn's voicemail is completely full. So it looks like when I got off the phone with Tabitha, she said that she had a call from her attorney, and she deals with a lot of personal stuff. That's one reason Ann Wozniak was chosen as the campaign for Michigan, because we need someone who is available to do the things that need to get done. And for that, you know, I'm hopeful that there will be more. Like I said, right now we have about 10 states. The majority of them have campaign managers. Florida, we've got Missouri, Alabama, Michigan, Minnesota. We may have somebody for Georgia. There's a gentleman by the name of Larry Baker, who is very active. He has 2 daughters. He's trying to parent. They took them from him. That is CPS. And he's been in Washington, D.C. this week talking to senators about the problems in the family court with CPS and government funding of CPS and Title IV funding. That is a problem that he addressed and addresses. There's another issue. He's going to go to Minnesota to be with Tally Rosquez. Tally is our Minnesota campaign manager. And they have a meeting at the Capitol in Minnesota in St. Paul every month on the 18th. And that would be this Friday. And there's a chance that I may be able to participate in it. So we will see there. But the good news is between now and the 3rd of September, I will be very engaged in the process of moving the campaign forward here in Florida and these airports and in the hangars. We have to have hangars here because the weather here is very unpredictable and causes me personally a lot of concern as to people on the stage, getting them organized to give their testimony, and let the media cover the story as it needs to be, so that the people can know what's really going on, and then provide me the opportunity to come on as a candidate for president to tell them why this has happened and what must happen in order for it to stop. And for that, I am blessed. What say you, Stephen? I can't hear you. Hello?
Sorry, I had switched over the audio modes for the live callers in case somebody called in. It does affect the mic. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
All right.
I said,
no, I was just in case they did. I said switched it over, anticipating if we were going to get a call, but unfortunately, the normal mic is gets cut out because of that. I switched it back though. I think you're right. I feel blessed to be part of this movement, because what we're doing is showing people that we have to be active participants in making the change. Because if we don't and expect somebody else to do it and say, oh, it'll solve itself, it's not going to solve itself, folks. The whole purpose of our country that this was founded on was to become active participants and to be engaged in our government, which is why they were initially supposed to have term limits, and the people were supposed to be representative of the people and swapped out into these positions in the first place, but it's become corporatized. And have you seen that video by Hal with the interview with Dr. Jan Halper on GBN on the 3rd?
no.
Oh, wow. It's big news, folks. Big news. Can I screen share it? I think it's explains a lot of our problem possibly with the whole, because apparently we were the United States corporation up until 2018, which then had been dissolved, apparently, according to this latest information.
Really? Because 1871, the Congress initiated a proclamation that America was now a corporation.
Yep. So now it's been dissolved apparently, but this is just breaking. I'm going to play it. It's about 10 minutes long. Is that okay?
Yeah,
But
sure.
I think it's relevant to what we're talking about.
All right.
Studio, good to see you as always.
Good to see you.
There's so many people putting this down as a political conspiracy theory, but actually there are real questions to be answered here.
There are?
Yeah, of course there are. Of course there are.
What he's being accused of, but what part do you think is to answer that the 2020 election is going to be litigated because of this? They've made a huge, huge mistake with this one. Because even though we thought what was going to happen was they were going to go after him for treason or sedition, but they did criminally charge him, but they didn't go to that extreme. As a result, he has due process, so he can subpoena people and bring things in. Now, let me say something about this 2020 election, is that Biden is the legitimate president, but he's the legitimate president of what is now the bankrupt U.S. corporation. And that was a treaty in 1871. Well, on September 12, 2018, Trump created an executive order. Within that, he outlined in future elections any kind of foreign or domestic interference, specifically for the 2020 election. So we say, how did he know some of these things were going to happen? Election integrity on both sides of the aisle is tough. It's really tough. But what this has done is it's opened the door for Trump to present his case.
Well, that's a good thing, isn't it? Because what we see on this side of the pond is a very difficult situation where the legal system is politicised in the United States, which is abhorrent to us over here. So the fact that Trump can subpoena, some people saying it's a mistake by Jack Smith, but actually he can subpoena, people can actually see evidence from both sides. That's a sensible move. Exactly.
And it's a great mistake by Jack Smith that he's done that. Absolutely great. See, the thing is, think about Edward Snowden and all the information he had. Think about the fact that our military, our Department of Defense Space Force, if you think that they don't have the actual real results from the election, then you're fooling yourself.
Yeah, but what we do know with this is we're told that there are plenty of notes from people, including Vice President Pence, that there are some recordings of Donald Trump acknowledging that actually what he said in public was nonsense. That some of these states, whether he claimed he was out saying look, Detroit, it's corrupt, it's all corrupt, the results are corrupt. And that when in reality he knew it wasn't. That's illegal.
But you know what? That's what someone's claiming, but that's not the fact, and that's not what Donald Trump really has ever said. He's been very, very clear. I mean, the issues were, for example, in Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court of the state of Pennsylvania stepped in and changed some of the election laws. Under our Constitution, it's only the state legislators that can do that. 2,000 Mules, the film that came out, what they did, they spent over $4 million tracking the phones. And the reason it's only 2,000 mules is that based on the visits to the drop boxes in Georgia, they had to have gone over 10 times. And they've got all the film for that. So the thing is that the election integrity is so different and so problematic in every single state. But that doesn't mean that the machines didn't do something, that there were some other kind of finagling, but the long and short... Go ahead.
Well, it doesn't, but that's where conspiracy comes in, is it? To say, well, it doesn't mean that something didn't happen. Well, there's no evidence that it happened. I mean, there's how many court cases did the Trump campaign try to bring? Nothing's gone in his favour.
Okay, wait a minute. Everyone, the media goes, oh, there were 60 court cases that were rejected. No, there were 3. He won 2, He lost one. 57 were never heard because they had no standing. And standing means that the person bringing the case has to claim some kind of impact or injury. So it's really, the media did that, and they're great at doing that, but it was a fallacy in there. And the thing is that, I sit on a task force at the Department of Defense, and the thing is, they've got the goods. They've got the goods. And Trump knew that if he presented any of the goods early on, we'd have a civil war. That he really felt that the people needed to see how bad it could get.
And that's the sense that we're getting from Trump's lawyer about what his defense is going to be. So this is all going to be based on free speech, the First Amendment in the US Constitution, that he had a right to say what he believed. And he believed that the election results were not as was put out. But the point is, if you live in a democracy and you believe in a democracy, then that means that even if you don't like the outcome of an election, you respect that. Because it's a democratic vote.
Well, a democratic vote, and so therefore he should be silent about it.
He has a right to speak, but the issue, of course, is if he then acts to subvert that election result.
Oh, so that because you think he's being criticized because in Georgia he said, "Can you find me 12,000 votes?" Or, the thing is, he didn't try to subvert anything. What he's really done is he set up the deep state to come out, and that's why we're seeing all these things. I mean, it was revealed with whistleblowers and Hunter Biden's ex-best friend that in 2015, the head of Burisma gave Joe and Hunter Biden $10 million bribe. In 2018, Joe is on TV publicly saying that he threatened that unless they got the prosecutor fired, that he wasn't going to let them have their $1 billion in support. In 2019, Trump calls Zelensky to find out about what went on to get the prosecutor fired, and he gets impeached. I mean, we've lived with it for a long time.
We're almost out of time. I just want to pick you up on one thing. You said earlier on, Donald Trump has been very clear on this. Is he a man that you believe? I mean, look, he's about as believable as a chocolate teapot, isn't he?
Look, I know that, thank God you got the negativity in at the end and not the beginning. I can always count on you for that. Always.
But it's a legitimate point to say that Donald Trump is a man who always speaks the truth. That can't be the case. I mean, it's hardly the case of any leader, to be fair, but, I mean, definitely not Donald Trump.
Well, I don't know if I said everything or always, because I do call him the embellisher-in-chief, because he's a marketer. But in terms of telling us things, optics, you better believe that he's very much a straight shooter in terms of actions that he's going to take or what he thinks needs to be done. They made fun of him because they assumed he broke protocol and walked in front of the Queen. No, if you go back and look at it, you will see he looked at her. She gave a wave with her hand. He proceeded. She took a couple of steps, he stopped, and he waited for her to join. That was an optic to tell us that he then was going to bankrupt the U.S. corporation because it was the Vatican, the Crown, and the U.S. that was part since 1871. And we were giving you our tax dollars. We were paying back. Forget this Tea Party and without taxation, without representation. We owed you a lot of money because you helped us in the Civil War. And so that is what Trump has now, he told the Queen, I'm ending this. We're dissolving this corporation. We're going to go back to being a republic and we'll all be separate. The Pope wasn't happy. You should find the picture of him visiting the Pope. It took 650 planes to remove our gold from the Vatican Bank.
I'm not very happy about it, Jan, to be perfectly honest. We could do with your money at the minute. Keep it flowing, nice.
Very good.
What do you think of that? And that was huge, I think.
Exactly. Do you know who that woman was? She
Dr.
said she
Jan Halper. Dr. Jan Halper.
And she said
Jan Halper Hayes.
I see. And she works in the Pentagon?
She's on the DoD task force with this whole issue, I believe.
Well, see, this is what is causing a lot of issues with people like me, because see, one of the issues for me with politicians is people who talk tough, but have who have not acted the part. And you know, I'm totally removed from the Trump train, because personally, I don't believe the American people want a president who operates like Donald Trump. I mean, what he is doing will help people. That's great, but he's taking a tremendous amount of abuse when in fact other things could be done that he has not entertained doing. And I have attempted to help him in the past when he was president to do those things. After all, we came out of nothing here. I have visited this country in many different states and capitals, including New England. I was there in 2016 when he announced his candidacy. He was there in Concord, New Hampshire. I was there in Concord, New Hampshire. There were others that were there too, including a prayer vigil with Franklin Graham. He had a campaign for America in his own right, praying for the country. And Donald Trump and Franklin Graham know each other quite well. That's their business, okay? I have nothing to do with them. But the realities are, we're way beyond now what Donald Trump might have been doing in from 2016 to now. We are in so deep a crisis that we're going to have to require extreme measures to fix this. But that's why I'm here, folks. And I will say that as we continue down this path to bring about an awareness of what people are suffering from, the government problems that have been created for several years, particularly I would say the last 40 years, that the chickens have come to roost. And if there is not a change, I believe we are done as a society. We will be a communist country and America will have fallen. I hate to say it that way, but
that's where we're headed if we don't stand up and fight back and demand change, folks.
So that's why it's so vitally important that these programs get out. I think you're going to need to edit this show today, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm going to.
And try to make it as smooth and seamless as possible. But I want to encourage everybody to participate in their local government, their state government, and their federal government. And know that the American Party of America, the AOA, the American National Committee, has your back. And we are making history. I will be going to the United Nations very soon with my book, The Ball Doctrine, Creating Peace and Prosperity in Every Nation. It is absolutely necessary this book gets to the right people at the UN, and we continue on that path with proceeding all of the things that are necessary with the New York Times reporters and getting the media behind this campaign through these events. Media covers events. And this is a serious campaign. And as we see other events evolve through it, people will understand better the impact the AOA is having on them. Praise God.
Here,
For
here,
that,
praise God.
I'm honored that we had this conversation. I'm sorry that the guests who we had planned to be here couldn't be, but we will continue to communicate with them and others. And please, folks, remember this, 702-482-8620 is a call-in line. This is the first time we're introducing this. And I'm very pleased, Stephen, you were able to find this as a means to create participation and energy for the campaign for America.
Yeah, definitely, folks. And just know, we want you to call in, ask quick questions. You can speak with Dennis live while we're on the air, but only while we're live, because once it's the live is done, we can't answer questions from the future. But that being said, show up on the live, ask questions. We'd love to have you guys. We're going to be having this number for our other lives as well, that we do through News for Us World. So feel free to jump on and ask us questions in any of our future broadcasts. We'd love to hear from you, folks. We want to hear from you.
Very good. Well, with that, Stephen, I think we should wrap it up and do the closing, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. All right, folks. Thank you for joining us. Let's play the outro and then we'll wrap it up.